All right. Hello, everyone. We are here again with the Port Haven StreamCast. How is everybody
Woo!
today?
Hello.
We are here today talking about some of our Star Wars favorites. I think that's the
It's my
plan for today.
favorite anythings.
Yes, our favorite
All of the
anything.
things.
Let me mute myself on my phone so we
Double Django.
don't double
Double
Jenga.
Django all the way
I'm I'm
across the sky.
I'm gonna do an OBS scene that's just like four different iterations of
Django.
of my own window. Um, but how are you today? Are you
I'm
having a good week?
having a good week. Almost done with my week. I got a long day at work tomorrow, but then I'm on the weekend, so it'll be good. But yeah, no, it's been a good week here. Been an exciting one. Books are coming out. I read stuff. I guess that's all like Friday stuff, though. Maybe I shouldn't spoil my Friday.
Well,
It, assuming I actually put the Friday out on Friday instead of accidentally releasing it on Thursday with Thursday's date, but calling it the Friday.
the funny thing about that, and I told you this, is that I just assumed you did all of that intentionally until you were texting me and you were like, "Wait, I did it wrong," and I was like, "Oh, I just assumed you meant to."
I had every intention of scheduling it for Friday and everything, and I accidentally gave it. I called it Friday and then whatever Thursday's date was, and I watched it and I like did everything, and then I went, "Whoops, it's Thursday still." I was clearly tired.
But yeah, so we'll share some of the stuff we've been doing this week. I actually have more things to contribute this week to our Friday
Woo!
when that rolls around. But so we're kind of in this. I don't want to say a weird space because there's it almost seems like there's both a lot going on in Star Wars right now
Right,
and like nothing going on in
right.
Star Wars right now. It makes me think of there's a scene in Lord of the Rings: Return of the King
Hmm.
where Pippin and Gandalf are looking out, and then
Yep.
Gandalf says it's the deep breath before the plunge, and that's kind of what I
The board is
feel.
set and the pieces are moving.
Yeah, we're right there, getting ready for Solo. I guess in a little more than a month.
Yep.
Um,
Oh man. I still
so
and they still haven't put freaking tickets on sale. I'm assuming at this point they're going to go on sale on Star Wars Day.
yeah,
Like that would make the most sense.
that's kind of my assumption. Anyway,
I mean, it makes sense because I feel like Rogue One, those tickets, I think went on sale 6 weeks out, and I think we're past that mark or we're at that mark.
yeah,
But I think Disney wants to wait for Infinity War to come out.
probably.
That would make a lot of sense.
But so what we thought we would do today, since we're kind of in this in between area, this sort of mid sort of ground Star Wars time.
It's my in between dance.
Oh, there you go. So we'll hashtag in between dance.
In between dance. I'm getting dizzy. Oh man.
But so what we thought we'd talk about, and we've been talking about some of this stuff on Twitter recently. We've been asking some questions, trying to get some conversation happening on Twitter. What some of our Star Wars favorites are. So like our favorite characters, our favorite planets, our favorite whatever you can think of. That's what we want to talk about today. Just all of the favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
He's all
raindrops
right.
and roses and
That's his
whiskers
favorite.
and kittens.
Both went there, just different parts of the song.
There you go. So yeah, we were talking actually right before the stream about our brains going in the same place,
Same dream. Yep,
and there it happens.
it happens.
Sarge, there it was.
Yep,
Sarge hanging out in the chat there, holding it down for us.
yep.
But
Thanks.
so which one of our favorites do you want to start off with?
What was the first tweet you did? I think was planets. Yeah,
It might be. Is my
maybe
audio?
planets is as good as. Oh, hello, Francis. Django's audio is very low.
I can turn that up some.
Hello and
Can
welcome. Nice of you to join.
can tell
Feel
me if
free
that
to
makes any
contribute
difference.
with your favorite things as well.
So what were you saying? The first one I asked about was what?
I think it's planets. Shall we discuss our favorite planets?
Sure. So there's kind of two ways I guess you could think about this. Um, because I think the way I asked it is which planet would you want to live on?
Yes.
And I'm not sure that my answers would be the same for which planets
Yeah.
I would want to live on compared to which planets like that we've seen or read about are my favorite. So is that
Yeah.
answer the same for you or would it be different?
I think that's fair. That I think there's because like I think I answered my favorite planet for where I would live, but like it honestly wouldn't. I just said that sentence in like the most confusing way possible. So my answer to where I would live was Dagobah, but I think I answered that because Dagobah is my favorite planet. I don't think I would actually enjoy living on a swamp planet with no technology, unless it was like my vacation home or something.
Yeah.
And I was rich enough to like bring electricity with me.
Right. It
But
makes me think of the story. Was it from I'm guessing it had to be from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
Where Yoda has to like migrate with the weather,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
like trying to find wood to build a house, and
I loved that story. That one was great. I was a
good
little
one.
confused because I think there were like robots there, and I didn't know where those came from. But
Yeah.
I might have just been confused while I was reading it. I don't know. But yeah. So like Dagobah is probably my favorite. Partly because of my association with Yoda. Obviously, Yoda fan with the whole Yoda Bauer thing.
Right.
And he's just always been one of my favorite characters. And I tend to like, I find swamp ecosystems on Earth interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I kind of like that one. I like parts of Naboo for the same reason.
Yeah.
I think in terms of planets I'd want to live on, I don't. I feel like a lot of like the best planets, terrible things happen to them, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people answered Alderaan, and I feel like if Alderaan didn't blow up, it really would be the best planet to live on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the whole blowing up part is a little bit problematic for me.
Yeah. Well, you can't overlook a planet being destroyed altogether.
Right.
But no, I was thinking about that too because somebody asked me what my favorite would be, and honestly, I don't think I ever came back with an answer because I have a hard time thinking about it because like Alderaan, I think is meant to be this like idyllic place.
Right.
You know, it's metaphorical and thematically like this perfect, peaceful like place in the galaxy. And I was thinking about the Leia Princess of Alderaan book, and like the mountains and stuff, and like all the like flowers that book describes, and that it just makes it such a nice place that you're like, how could I not want to be on Alderaan? Except it matters very much when you want to be on Alderaan.
Yeah, on Alderaan because it again the whole the whole blowing up part. I feel like maybe in terms of like livable, maybe how would you pronounce it? Like Chandrilla, the planet that Mon Mothma's from, where they like temporarily set up the New Republic, because that sounded like a pretty normal Earth-like planet too. That would be cool. It's just like it's hard to think of like what planet did not end up getting kind of destroyed by galactic conflict, but also isn't like Yavin and haunted by Sith spirits.
Right.
It's actually a lot harder to think of where you'd really want to live. But like, I know a couple people answered Coruscant on Twitter also, and I've always thought Coruscant is fascinating. I thought like a city-wide planet is interesting. I think Taris from the Sequel Republic is also really interesting. It's funny though because I hate big cities. Like I've visited friends who live in New York City, and I'm like, New York City is super fun vacation. I would be miserable if I lived here. Right. So it's kind of like I have a hard time saying like I'd want to live there too, even though it's a planet it's definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, and see, I'm kind of the same way too. So I'm very much a rural life kind of person, and so Coruscant might be a nice place to go, but I don't know that I would want to live there. But so I was thinking about this too. I really like the description in Aftermath of Hosnian Prime.
Yep.
As being like this mostly rural kind of place that gets selected to be the home of the New Republic government because it's kind of backwater.
Right.
But there again,
I think it's the whole blowing up problem.
Yeah, it's like everywhere I would choose gets blown up. So
It's funny. I remember when The Force Awakens came out, a lot of people thought it was Coruscant that got blown up. And I remember being slightly confused about that for a little bit. But then, like, before I knew it was called the Hosnian Prime,
Right.
I remember thinking, like, if this was Coruscant, I feel like they would have made a bigger deal out of it being Coruscant because we've seen it in the movies.
Right.
And, like, the fact that they didn't make a big deal out of it being Coruscant made me feel like it wasn't. But, like, there were a lot of people who were like, no, it's totally Coruscant. I'm like, and why didn't we see any well-known structure that would tell us it was Coruscant?
Well, and it's not pointed out in a way that I picked up on to start with, but they tell you in the film what planet it is. That it's the Hosnian system.
Yeah.
So
it's
I mean,
just really quick.
Yeah, but so I guess like if I had to pick one, I would probably pick one of those, or maybe Naboo. Again, just because really it's meant to be. If I could get like a beach house on Scarif before the Empire set up there, that might be nice.
Right. I feel like I could live on Coruscant to the extent that in this world where I can, in this reality where I would live in Star Wars, I would also be a Jedi Knight. So I could be on Coruscant, but I wouldn't really be in the big city because I'd be living in the wonderful Jedi temple.
I also thought about Dantooine, the way that it's portrayed in the KOTOR games. I could kind of dig that. And then what's the planet where I probably should have looked this up, but you know those episodes from the Clone Wars where it's like the really small lemur people?
Oh yeah. Oh, I think yeah.
Like
Frick, yeah, with Ayla Secura. Yeah. And I know the episode you're talking about.
And they live in the huts. Like that would be a Terry kind of place there too.
Yeah. And they were like the Celtic lemurs.
Yeah. But in terms of like my favorite planets, it's the exact opposite of where I would want to live. Because Tatooine has always been one of my favorite planets, you know, kind of classic there, but I would never want to live there.
I've always loved Ilum, which is I think it's actually it's an ice planet, or it might be a moon, I can't remember, but it's an ice planet. And it's just like a bunch of crystal caves, and it's where you get lightsabers from, but you totally wouldn't want to live there.
Right.
I was like Geonosis, again, wouldn't want to live there.
Well, I also really like Mustafar too.
Yes.
So definitely don't want to live in a volcano, but
I think the most hospitable world that I would like would probably be Kashyyyk, but I'd have to be accepted by the Wookiee people.
Yeah.
So like that would probably be the biggest thing. Like if the Wookiees would accept me as one of their own, I could live on Kashyyyk. Because like the Wookiees, what's cool about them is they are like super commune with nature, have this like pro nature society, but then they also really like technology. Like they're super technologically advanced, but they live in trees. And I've always loved that dichotomy with Wookiees.
Right.
And I think I could really get behind that because I like nature kind of, but I also really like electricity.
Sarge wants to know what planet has porgs.
Octo. The Octo.
Yep.
You know, we didn't really talk about sequel trilogy planets. I have a hard time. Well, I guess we but new canon. I guess we talked about Scarif. I still have a hard time like ranking anything from the new trilogy or the new canon, like films, into anything, just because it's also new. For me, like I have a really hard time picking where I put Rogue One, Force Awakens, or Last Jedi into my Star Wars film rankings, because it's like they're so new. I still want to watch those ones more than the other films. Right. And I don't know if it's because I like them better or if it's just because I don't have them entirely committed to memory yet. But yeah, right. Octo is the planet that Luke is hidden on. That's actually a pretty solid planet, other than the whole no electricity thing.
Right.
It's got like a Jedi temple. It's got fish nun ladies. Which is
adequate
cool.
Source of milk.
So more milk than you could ever need.
You can go spear fishing.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid planet.
But it also reminds me of with the spearfishing, that planet. I don't even know if it's named, but the planet from the Legends of Luke Skywalker book. That's the Deluge story. Like,
I'm sure it's named. I can't remember.
like that's basically just a lot of islands too. Like that would be a cool.
I haven't
cool
pulled
place to
something
live.
off my shelf in a while, obnoxiously, while we did a streamcast.
And
so.
maybe Takodana, where Maz's castle is.
Where Maz is from. Yeah, I saw a lot of people
Yeah.
say that. I would just want to hang out at Maz's castle,
Yeah.
like in general.
Which
What number was the deluge? I can't find it.
I want to say it was the third one.
Just keep finding the droid one.
Because
there it is.
the
Okay. Got it.
The Okinobi gang was the first one, and then the Jakku one was the second one.
This one.
Yeah, that place.
Mhm. I just realized that I have to figure out. There's a lot of deeks and a lot of the Tide.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they name it or not.
But yeah, but you're right about sequel trilogy planets. I mean, one, there's like Jakku, and
right, which is Tatooine diet.
Right. But then Crate is pretty inhospitable too.
Yep.
What was there's Steven.
Steven!
What was the name of the planet where the rebel base was that they're evacuating in The Last Jedi? Do we get a...
Oh, I know it. It's got like a really short name. I'll Google it real quick. I feel like we upset a lot of people because we don't, like, I don't have all these names memorized. I'm like, it didn't help too, because I feel like a bunch of the planets have really hard names to pronounce.
Right.
I'm just like, don't do this to me. Like, the planet, I really like the planet actually where, that's in Bloodline, and it shows up in Leia, Princess of Alderaan. It's like Parthu. Like, I'm not sure how you would pronounce it, but it's like
right.
Those bridges and stuff. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. But is there a canon name for the planet that was Starkiller Base? Like
That's a good question.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
In my head, it's always been Zonama Second, but that's definitely just headcanon.
Yeah, definitely. Locations. Show them.
This is where we need all of those reference guide books.
Right.
Complete locations.
Right here. What is it? I mean, actually, I have one of the guides behind me that's probably faster, considering I'm like looking this up on. This is super fascinating. I'll let you know when I find it.
All right. We're just solid content here.
We are like the best at what we do.
But so any other planets that come to mind as places you'd want to live and or visit, or?
I think visit would be the world Phasma's from, which is like space Mad Max planet.
Yeah.
Another planet, which name I don't remember, but that one was really cool. There's the planet Cantonica that has Canto Bite would be interesting. Dakar, D''QAR.
Yeah. I feel like I knew that in my head. Yeah.
I knew it too. Like, I knew it was like a really short name.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm trying to think. It's my feelings about planets are completely based on like what happened there rather than
right
like what the planet actually has to offer.
Right. You can keep this book handy. It might be helpful. No, I think I'm good on planets. If we want to go to the next.
All right. Well, which one you want to go to next?
Well, I don't even remember what I put on my thumbnail. Where did I put my thumbnail?
So you had planets, ships, characters, factions, weapons.
I put so many things. I got excited. Why
don't we do ships really quickly? Because I feel like that one will go pretty quick.
That'll go pretty quick. I think for ships, I really like actually Kylo Ren's ship. I think it looks super sweet. Look, like, I don't know.
Which one of his ships? The Tide from The Last Jedi or the
The TIE
shuttle
Fighter's cool.
from
The shuttle
the
from
shuttle?
Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like his TIE Fighter a lot too.
My favorites. I mean, I always want to say that Slave One is my favorite ship, but like that's just so problematic for me.
The name is like, ugh.
But I mean, I guess the Falcon is hard to overlook. I always
think in terms of freighters like that, for me, I think it's more the Ebon Hawk from the KOTOR games.
And I really like the Ghost too from Rebels, probably as much or more as the Falcon. And what was the name of the I'm blanking on it in the moment. But what was the name of the ship from the Clone Wars that Anakin
Twilight.
had? Yeah,
the Twilight. I really like. Again, to reference what we were talking about earlier, I was actually just about to say I feel like the Twilight gets overlooked a lot. But yeah, I really like the Twilight.
But I really like asymmetrical ships just because they're like, screw you aerodynamics. We'll do what we want.
In space, there are no aerodynamics.
But I also really liked. Oh, there's Bear.
Hey, Bear.
But I always liked, in terms of like more elegance, I liked Dooku's solar sail ship.
That one was cool.
And every ship from Naboo, basically. So whether it's the Starfighter or
I love the Starfighter. I don't like the yellow color. If I could get like a Starfighter in a different shade, I would love that Starfighter.
But even like Padme and Palpatine's like silver, like Naboo cruisers are always really nice.
It makes really good armor too.
Yeah, if you like melt it down while you're on
Phasma.
Mad Max planet.
It was one of my favorite things about the Phasma novel is learning where she gets her armor from.
Right.
And then everyone was like, we already knew that from the visual dictionary. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I got excited from a book.
Well, it's still different knowing a thing and then seeing that thing narrated.
It happened, exactly.
But I mean, I know if Knox were here, he would talk about how awesome Star Destroyers are. And like thematically, I get into Star Destroyers, but
they're not interesting ships to look at.
I mean, so there's that. It's just a big triangle, but they're also.
I liked Vader's, the Executor, because like the giant freaking one that was like super smooth, but then like looked like a city. Like that one looked kind of cool. Otherwise, it's like so utilitarian looking.
I mean, that reminds me too because I don't know how to pronounce this. I've never heard it said out loud, but the Lusankia from the X-Wing series, which is supposed to be like a twin of that. Yeah, makes me think of that too.
Is it? I'm at risk of spoiling other things for you that you also should remember from the New Jedi Order. There's also a particular character has hijacked a Star Destroyer and painted it red.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. I'm like really afraid to bring up anything from any character from those books now.
No, it's all good. But I mean, I like a lot of the Starfighters. I like the A-Wings. I've never really liked, I'll be honest about this, I've never really been into the B-Wings.
Yeah.
Or the, were the bombers in The Last Jedi B-Wings too?
Oh, they looked like B-Wings, but I think they're their own design.
I think they are too, because the B-Wing is more of a fighter than a bomber.
But then a bomber, yeah.
But that kind of asymmetrical design doesn't really do it for me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But Bear likes the A-Wings. A-Wing is probably what I would want to fly if I was a fighter pilot. Even though the X-Wings always get all the attention. But if we're talking about X-Wings, though, I really like the paint job on Poe Dameron's X-Wing.
Black Squadron.
And I liked reading in the X-Wing novels how when they all go rogue during the Back to War, that they all get like different paint schemes on their X-Wings. That was really cool. But any other ships that really jump out at you as ships you really like, or
I mean,
no
one likes Y-Wings. I think we can kind of all agree that no one likes Y-Wings.
Yeah. So again, this is from the X-Wing novels, but they talk a lot
Yeah.
about uglies,
Yep.
about how they're just like piecemeal together,
I like that.
fighters. And so like the one that I like the most, or that I don't know that I like it, but it's funny
Mhm.
that they call a blend of a TIE fighter and a Y-wing a die wing, because they're like, you just die if you fly one of these because
Right.
you're slow and you have no shields.
Shields,
And
right.
so
It's
it's
like
just
the worst.
asking to be
Uh,
murdered.
in terms of ships that I like, going back to the Clone Wars, I liked there's like the flying saucers that Hondo's people have.
Oh sure, yeah.
That was really fun because like you've seen Star Wars so many times, but then to have like the classic flying saucer that like spins,
Right.
I thought that was just like really fun.
Right. I also really like too, to think about larger ships. I liked the Trade Federation controlled ships too.
Those are cool. I like, especially with the detachable.
Yeah,
centers.
like I remember watching Attack of the Clones, which I think is underrated. Maybe we can talk about that if we talk about our favorite films.
Yeah.
But I really liked that moment at the end of the film where you see like the detachable pieces like taking off. Like it didn't connect to me to start with. Like that's what that was. And so when they were doing that, I thought that was pretty cool.
I like that a lot.
But what about?
I think that's some of the funnest moments in Star Wars is when there's a thing that happens and you go, "Oh, that's how that works."
Right, right. What about some of the ground vehicles? Do you have favorites of those?
I actually really like the Juggernaut from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's like the only Star Wars vehicle with wheels, or I guess it's treads, not wheels.
Right.
But I just think it's funny to see like a non-hover, non-flying thing.
Yeah.
In Star Wars. I think it's also because it came out around the same time as I can't remember how close they are, but it came out near-ish X-Men Last Stand.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that it was called the Juggernaut, I just kept thinking of the line from Last Stand. It's like, "Do you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut." And to keep it family friendly, but I loved that line, and so there's like a mental association in my head, which I think adds to it.
Right.
But
I think I'm sort of a classic land speeder, like New Hope land speeder kind of guy. Myself, I'm not a big fan of speeder bikes just because I would die on a on a speeder bike. What about like the walkers? Are you fans of any of the variations of walkers that we've seen?
Yeah, and I oddly enough, I'm gonna go back to Revenge of the Sith. It must just be like the movie for vehicles for me, but I liked the like scout walkers. Like they were like a chicken walker or an ATSD with like no body, and you just like it was like a Segway but with legs.
It's like faster too.
Yeah, and they show up in the Clone Wars a little bit in like the Ryloth arc and stuff. I really like those. Like I feel like that's what I would ride around in. I'd just be like,
that's basically the walker too that BB-8 has in the Phasma scene in The Last Jedi too.
Yeah.
At least in terms of like how it operates. I was really hoping that we were going to get to see those gorilla walkers in The Last Jedi do something.
Do stuff, yeah. But
different.
Me too.
I mean, it's not like I was disappointed, but I was just like, oh, these walkers are different, but we don't see them do different things.
Do anything different. Well, there's a whole other movie. There's time, I guess.
That's true.
I like, I guess the Jawa fan that I am, I love sand crawlers. I just think it's like ridiculous. It's like it's another building. It's another vehicle with treads. Maybe that's another reason why I like the Juggernaut. I don't know, but it's basically like a building on its side on treads that just like goes through the sand. Like it's gigantic. I think, especially like if you look at the one in the Tatooine level of the first KOTOR game. Then it's really, really cool.
I remember too when I would play some of the old Battlefront games. I liked being they were called Hellfire droids in different things. I don't know what the official designation of it is, but the one that had like the two really big wheels on the side.
Right, yeah, it would shoot stuff.
I don't know if droids like that count as vehicles because
you can't ride. Well, I think you could ride in it in the first Battlefront game, so maybe that counts.
Maybe so, but I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, those were cool.
I like seeing Sarge give out medical advice, showing off that that training in the chat there.
I'm enjoying chat right now. They're just off in their own conversation. I think that's fine.
Got a mole I'll let you diagnose later. but, any other ships or vehicles though that stand out to you?
Yeah, I love Hailfire droids.
Hey Knox, we're talking about vehicles. We mentioned you already and your love for Star Destroyers. I always really liked the idea too from Legends of the Darksaber. I don't know why, like not the
no, not the sword, but like the super weapon.
Yeah, like the
Darksaber.
Yeah, just because again, it's like let's take the Death Star, but take away everything that made it a Death Star except just the gun.
Just the gun. Just get to the important bit. Going into Legends, I gotta say, I thought the Vong had pretty cool ships because they weren't like ships. They weren't made of metal. They were like flying coral. Right.
I mean, I could talk about how much I like the Vong all day long. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but it does.
Well, we can use it. Why don't we segue into species, and we can lead with the Vong. I'm bumping my computer. It's fine.
Sure. So, what are your favorite species? I'll talk about the Vong a little bit, just while you think about it for a minute, because I really did like the Vong. The Vong for me were interesting. Again, not just different for different stake, but that's like the idea that they operated differently from anything else in the galaxy, at least as far as we knew. With the Force and with their technology, like the idea that even in a galaxy that's supposed to be a long time ago and far, far away, and all exotic, like they were so different from everything else, from every other species. They were kind of their own sort of foreign, separate outsider kind of thing. Just thematically, this idea that they're a threat because they are like they have nothing in common with the rest of the galaxy. Always made them intimidating to me.
Yeah. I think for species, I always thought the Geonosians were kind of cool. Just like these giant termite things.
Yeah.
Similarly, like I thought, really the alien species in Attack of the Clones were cool because I liked the look of the Kaminoans.
Right.
Like I think they finally got into like making really alien looking aliens.
Right.
Whatever Yoda is, but again, that's just because special place for Yoda.
Yeah.
I like I think my favorite species of all time, like sentient species, that I think is really, really underrated is the Given, Givin. And those are they're from Legends. They were brought back into canon, I think. Well, maybe I think there might be one in like the Cantina scene or something. I think they're actually from the movies, but they got bigger in the expanded. And they basically look like the painting The Scream, but like as a person.
Yeah.
And so they're like all of the time, but they can like do super math in their head, right? So like they're known for being able to make hyperspace calculations on their own.
Right.
What book series has a Given in it?
In new canon, isn't it?
In new canon, it's the Luke book.
Yeah, the Heir to the Jedi.
Yeah, but I feel like
Jedi,
in Legends, I don't know if it was the Thrawn trilogy or what, but like the bad guys had like a Given that made a bunch of. I can't remember which one it was.
There's been some references in the X-Wing novels too.
Maybe it could be from that series then, but like I think that they are a really interesting and kind of underrated race. I like them in the I think it's Heir to the Jedi is the what's his name, Kevin Hearn,
yeah,
who wrote it. That character made some really hilarious like math jokes. Like I think I outright laughed out loud at the "I foiled your plan" math joke. It was really funny too because it took me a second to get it, and then when I got it, I just like lost it for like 10 minutes. I agree with Knox. I like the Kaleesh a lot. I'm sad that they don't have more about them.
And Bear likes the Trandoshans.
Trandoshans, just giant lizards. You can't go wrong with a species that's giant lizards.
I've always been a fan of the basilisks.
Yeah.
Mostly because I like Dex.
Yep.
And then there was his name Krell, the Jedi from the Clone Wars.
I don't remember his name, but there's a character in Twilight Company.
Oh yeah, you're right. I can't remember the name.
One of the main characters is Basilisk.
I need to reread that. That was really good.
I meant to reread it a while after I read Inferno Squad. I want to read both of those together. They're both really good.
We should do a week where we just talk about our favorite new canon novels.
Canon books, yeah.
Because that'd be a whole hour,
easily,
or more in and of itself.
We were literally talking about that earlier today. Even I feel like.
Yeah. I also really like you said the Kaminoans. I like the Kaminoans, but I don't know how you pronounce the species, but the people that live on Utapau too.
Powans or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right. But yeah, I like their design. I guess I don't know how you say.
I remember watching the Revenge of the Sith teaser trailer with my cousin, and I would have been like 14 when that trailer came out, and like we were going through the trailer frame by frame, and we thought we were so smart and so good at figuring out the movie. And there's a shot of the main guy they talked to there, and I remember when I saw him, I didn't think it was an alien. I thought it was like burnt up Darth Vader.
Oh.
And I was really like sure that's what it was, and I remember getting really excited about it. And then I saw the movie and I went, "Oh, never mind."
Knox says he also likes the Chiss, but it might just be
solid.
Thrawn bias. But yeah, I think that's the reason why everybody likes the Chiss is because of our collective Thrawn bias.
When we got more of it in, I think it was like Survivor's Quest. There was more. You meet like a relative of Thrawn or something, and you get a little bit more out of their culture. And they had a really cool dynamic going. I'm curious to see how much of it gets brought into new canon.
Yeah, I always thought the Aqualish were pretty cool too.
Yep.
And I know our good pal Lan from the boards are really into
Mon
Calas. But any other species? I mean, I always have an affinity for Wookiees, but
yep. I think for me, Jawas. I have a Jawa obsession.
Oh, for sure.
I love me some Jawas. Hello, LQ. Welcome.
Anybody else in chat have favorite Star Wars species? Things that speak to you?
Knox. This goes back to our last topic. I don't think we talked about the Eclipse. Do you mean like is that a ship classification? It sounds. It's like I'm getting. I know. I know what it is, but I'm not connecting the dots to the correct thing.
Yeah, if we want to backtrack, another ship I really like too that I didn't think about. I liked the Wild Card too.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that's Talon Card was always one of my favorite Legends characters.
I like Talon a lot, but I think that's my Mara Jade bias.
Oh yeah.
Because the Jade. Speaking of Mara Jade, had two really solid ships too. I really liked. I guess it's fine to spoil a ridiculously old book, but I liked in Hand of Thrawn Duology, like Mara had to crash her own ship, and that was like part of her like trial.
Right.
And I remember like as much as like we talked a lot about ships, I like ships, but they're not my favorite part of Star Wars. But like for me to understand her connection to that ship and like what that moment meant, like it was so burned in my psyche. That could also be like 15-year-old Jess being super into the love story between Mara and Luke talking too. So that might be the problem.
The Eclipse is the Super Star Destroyer
that
that Sheev used in Operation Shadow Hand.
He said Palpy. He did not say Sheev. He did not
it's the
use that
same.
name.
It's
No,
his name.
it's not.
I mean,
In
I guess
Legends, it's not. It's not in Legends.
it wasn't it established though in the Plagueis novel, or was it only
maybe
established in Tarkin?
I think it was established in Tarkin.
Oh.
I think it was in, but I could be wrong.
Well,
I'm still mad at a lot of things that happened in Plagueis.
If it happened in Tarkin, it might as well have happened in Plagueis too.
That's true, though.
I mean,
that's pretty valid.
They were written by the same guy at basically the same time. So,
See, Nox is on the same page. I'd hate the name Sheev.
It's not that I like it. I just like your reaction to it. So, I mean, that's the only reason anybody uses the name
Sheev. Literally set up a word filter on the forums so that anytime somebody typed Palpatine, it just changed it to Sheev just to tick me off.
I mean, I didn't leave it that way long because it ticked a lot of people off, but...
And it didn't work on me because I was a mod.
Yeah.
So...
But, yeah.
I see LQ is talking about characters, so shall we move into characters?
Sure. You want to go first? I went first on the last one.
Oh, sure. Well, LQ says R2 and Chewie, which are solid characters.
Sure.
Obviously Yoda. Yoda is easily beyond, like, all-time favorite. I also love Mace Windu. Revan is a huge favorite character for me. From the new canon, Dr. Aphra, who's only in the comics, but she's like space Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But because Star Wars is so technologically advanced, instead of finding gold idols, she's finding really old computers. So she's like an ancient technology expert, and I think that's really cool.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of her.
I want to go to this. Nox is talking about Sheev more in the chat. I think Sheev makes sense and is more intimidating if it were pronounced Shiv.
Yes.
Like if you spelled it that way but pronounced it Shiv instead of Sheev. Like I know that's what they're alluding to, but if it were a little bit more of a direct connection than the sort of I don't know, like tertiary kind of connection, that makes more sense to me. But my favorite characters, my top three are pretty easy, and there's a lot of other characters that I like, but my top three are always Jango Fett, obviously, and then I love Dex Jetster from Attack of the Clones and Obi-Wan. Those are my top three for sure. I mean, but there are so many characters that I like. It's hard to.
I mean, again, I'm like mentally blanking on the sequel trilogy for reasons I don't understand. Because, like, obviously, I'm a huge Kylo Ren fan. I have like my Kylo shrine right behind me.
Right.
With the Jesus box.
I mean, I really love my favorite new canon kind of exclusive character is probably Kanan, from Rebels, Kanan Jarrus. But yeah, it's so Nox says that he wouldn't be surprised if Palpatine legally changed his name to Emperor. I have to share a story now that's going to tell you where I live, so I guess that's not too big of a deal. But the guy that used to be our governor, he wanted, when he was running for governor, for his name to be on the ballot to be Dr. Bentley. And because he was a doctor and that he was running on, our state is sick and it needs a doctor. Like that was his campaign slogan to start with. But so they wouldn't let him put his title on ballot, so he legally changed his name to Dr. Bentley. And so for a while he was Dr. Bentley. And he lives in the town where I live, and I swear to God that he drives a Bentley. And so there was a period of time where you could legitimately say, there's Dr. Bentley's Bentley.
It makes me think of 30 Rock, Tracy Jordan's wife. She's like, she goes into the Jack's office and she's like, my single is dropping. What? My single is dropping.
Yeah. Or like, I don't think you haven't watched Parks and Rec, have you?
No.
Because there's a character who wants to start a restaurant for low-cal calzones and call it the low-cal calzone zone. But yeah, so Sarge, you can just legally change your name to Doctor, and you can just
Yeah.
be Dr. Sarge.
Yep, I like it.
But yeah, so other characters we enjoy.
Yeah, back to the topic.
But no, Kanan and Hera, both separately and collectively, are some of my favorite characters.
I'll tell you who grew on me, surprisingly, is Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Clone Wars film Ahsoka and season 1 and 2 ish Ahsoka
is like,
but
yeah.
But later on, Clone Wars Ahsoka, novel Ahsoka, and Rebels Ahsoka.
Yep.
Are
totally
pretty
fine
cool
with.
Too. The character that I really used to hate, and this is, I guess this sounds weird, I was never a fan of Legends Luke.
That's fair, though. Legends Luke, like, went from dopey to, like, I'm trying to think if I'm okay with saying this on our channel or not. But there's really no other way to say it. He how should I put this? He got around a lot. That's how I'm going to say it on our PG channel. It's not what I was going to say, but he made the rounds. Let's put it that way. So he was either like super innocent farm boy, or it was like, all right, Luke, like you really working it on that Force Ghost right now. And it's just like, he was so inconsistent.
Right.
So inconsistent.
Well, and this was, I mean, I don't know if this is really what we wanted to talk about, but this was one of the problems that I had with the Legends canon, is that big characters, like, it's different for characters that were so connected to particular authors, like Thrawn is Thrawn because Zahn wrote him that way. Yeah, and Mara Jade too, yeah, for sure.
Corin Horn with Stackpole.
Stackpole, yeah. But with a lot of the big characters, particularly Luke and Leia, and I think particularly Luke, it was so different depending on who was writing these characters, that you didn't have like a solid read on these characters. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I didn't like Luke, is because Luke vacillated so much between being this like Captain Kirk kind of figure almost, and again this really naive, sort of doe-eyed kid from Tatooine, and like his character development always went back and forth for me. But yeah, I was never, I mean, in the films is one thing, but like Legends EU canon, I was never a big fan of.
Well, that's
Luke.
where I think it's kind of funny, where people are like, The Last Jedi is # not my Luke Skywalker. And I'm like, well, which one of the other 20 versions of Luke Skywalker is your Luke Skywalker then?
I mean, did your Luke Skywalker swear allegiance to a clone of Palpatine? Because that happened.
That's a thing.
I mean, if we want to talk about not my Luke Skywalker,
right?
My Luke Skywalker is not the one that sort of became a Sith for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I like that people were more accepting of the idea of Luke falling to the dark side than Luke effectively thinking he is sacrificing himself by hiding.
Right. Yeah, and Knox points out that Legends Luke was overpowered too. But
Legends in general, though. How many Legends characters were overpowered?
Sure. But again, part of my problem with that was Luke was overpowered sometimes. Yep. And sometimes he wasn't. Yep. Like Revan is overpowered because he's Revan.
Right.
I mean, but like it's uniformly Revan is Revan. I mean, except for the parts of the original KOTOR game where Revan's not Revan, but that's different.
Right.
But like Revan is always Revan. Like he is this incredibly powerful person, but Luke was like just different all the time. Yeah, Luke 19. Luke number 19.
Knox is just on fire with the jokes today. I appreciate.
Yeah, I really liked Luke Skywalker with
Luke Skywalker. There's like a fox. There's Foxy Tom here with the hard-hitting Star Wars questions.
I mean, I could always talk about Star Trek if that's the thing people want.
I mean, Django could, to be fair.
I could go on. It's my second great franchise that I was into.
Yep.
Bye, OQ. We're about to wrap it up anyway.
Yeah.
But Anybody else? So we didn't really get to all of our different favorite categories. We might have to do favorites part 2 another week.
Yeah, I guess like speed listing factions would be pretty easy for me because it's just like Jedi and then like any other Force using faction.
Yeah, well, I'm Mandalorians and then Jedi.
Yeah. We all know what Nox picks.
Yeah. He picks the First Order because
exactly. He really likes Snoke.
Yep. What were some of the others? Do you have a favorite line, a favorite quote?
I think there's a lot of really good quotables. Like I like in Phantom Menace, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. I think that's a good one that a lot of people should learn.
I think my favorite quote comes from the Phantom Menace too, and it's Qui-Gon saying your perception determines your reality.
Yep. Qui-Gon is very, very quotable.
I also really like, of course, Django quotes. Both, it's what I use as my outro in my videos, but I'm just a simple, that's my bio on every social media is I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. But I always like his, it's a pleasure to meet a Jedi too. It's kind of ironic.
Some of my favorite Star Wars lines are actually from Shatterpoint. There's some great lines that Mace has.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Your chances come in 2 sizes, slim and fat.
Yeah.
Loved that line. One of the best, like, cheesy action film lines of all time.
I'll also admit probably one of my favorite Star Wars quotes is Yoda from The Last Jedi when he says, "We are what they grow beyond." Like that was instantly one of my favorite lines too. Yeah, really quick we can say our favorite movie if you want. Steven asked that in the chat.
So as I said at the start, it's really hard for me to rank the new films because they're so new. Right. I am very confident that Force Awakens and Last Jedi will be very high, if not the top of the list, once I come to terms with it. I just don't know where they're gonna fall. Not counting new canon, I'm with Nox. Revenge of the Sith is really like my favorite for a lot of reasons, and I know that's kind of taboo to say, but I really became I've always been a fan of Star Wars, but I became a super fan of Star Wars when Episode 3 came out, and like around the year lead up to that. So Revenge of the Sith as a movie, I love it, but it also has a very nostalgic place for me. Before Revenge of the Sith, my favorite was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm pretty confident that Episode 9 awakens, which is, the Force awakens the Last Jedi from his nap. So I'm very sure that From His Nap is going to be my favorite Star Wars film.
Yeah, I think...
Scarface is solid, Steven. It's a good Star Wars movie.
Cockroaches. But for me, and this is even more taboo, my favorite prequel trilogy film is Attack of the Clones. Pretty hands down.
I like the prequel trilogy. I think Attack of the Clones is probably I describe Attack of the Clones as having some really, really high highs and some really low lows.
Yeah.
But there's so much. The parts of Attack of the Clones that I love, I just really, really love.
I feel like Attack of the Clones.
Every part of Obi-Wan's line.
Sure. Yeah. I think Attack of the Clones is probably the film that could have used a script edit more than any of the others.
Yes.
But I feel like Attack of the Clones did so much for like world building in Star Wars.
Yes.
Even more I think than the Phantom Menace for me. But then of course my favorite film, and it's almost cliche to say this these days, but I still have an affinity for Empire Strikes Back too, and that's probably my favorite. Unless we're counting the Clone Wars movie, because that one's the best.
I think Ewoks Battle for Endor is like tops.
I've still never seen that. We need to do another.
We do need it. I've been trying to buy it, but it's like ridiculously priced because they don't make it anymore. So you can I gotta try to find a somewhat affordable copy.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else you want to talk about, or you ready to wrap it up?
I think we hit the key points. I mean, I think the only other thing I put on there was weapons, but again, mine's pretty obviously the lightsaber.
Yeah.
So...
Well, we should do another favorites week though, because we could talk about our favorite lightsabers, because I feel like we could talk about that.
That's
for a
whole
while.
topic, and lightsabers in general is a whole topic in of itself. So I think that's fair. But we have some good topics coming up, which we'll announce as we go.
I'm excited about next week, especially.
It's it's good. Let me just put it to you that way. It's good.
It'll be different, but yeah. But before we go, we'll run through all of the things. First off, thanks to everybody that's been hanging out in the chat.
If you're
all of our
a
friends.
Wolfpacker, go ahead and do a howl, or if you're a content creator in general, go ahead and raise your hand. We have a lot of great fellows who drop in. Like a Fox is a great channel. Sergeant Curry Pants was here. Bear, who I think is still floating around. Like Quinn, all y'all are good people.
And we'll give Sarge a shout out for helping us with some technical stuff before the stream started, for some things that we have planned in the future. Helping us out with that. Make sure you like us on all of the different things. So again, I say this every week, and this is probably preaching to the choir, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. But if you haven't subscribed to us, go ahead and do that, and hit that notification. Oh, there's Yagi. I haven't seen him so far. I don't know.
There you are, Yagi. Yagi's another Wolfpacker.
But make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification button so that you can see when we go live. We're doing 2 streams a week now.
Yep, Tuesday.
Yoda Bauer's doing her KOTOR streams.
Yep, and we're almost done with Terrace. So Tuesday I will be finishing the Sith base, doing Davik's base, and then starting Jedi training. So it'll be good. A lot of good things going on there.
You should do some polls that you can ignore about which planet order to go in.
I will totally ignore them too, because I already know which order I'm going in.
But yeah, so check that out. We got other videos going up. I did one yesterday about our pal Kevin Scott, which I had fun doing.
We're not stalkers, Kevin. We promise.
We'll have our Friday tomorrow, our weekly update video. I'll have another Let's Play video coming out this Sunday. That's already set to go. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Port Haven Forums. You can find us at facebook.com/Port Haven Forums, and our website is port-haven.com. So those are all the places and all the things where you can like us and find us. And again, if you want to search that Tumblr account that we have that's not been used in like 6 years, that's out there too. If that's just a thing that you're down for. But I think that's gonna do it for us. Is there anything else that I haven't mentioned?
No, I think that's all of the big things that we can at least talk about. We have other things on the way that we can't talk about.
Dun dun dun.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at chat right now. It's fine.
But yeah, so make sure you're staying in touch with us. We want to be your Star Wars refuge, as we like to say. But I think that's gonna do it for us this week. So we will see you next time, guys.
See you next time.
Bye.